Welcome to NYCU EMI support video series for non-native English university students. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Linda. Do you find it hard to remember what you learned before? This is called the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve shows how we naturally forget newly learned information over time. Right after we learn something new, like a new vocabulary word or math formula, we can remember most of it, 80 or 90%. But without reviewing, our memory drops rapidly. After just one day, we may only remember 70%. After the week, we might retain only 10 or 20%. The good news is that by reviewing material on a schedule, you can strengthen the connections in your brain from short-term to long-term memory. So don't get discouraged. Time management and consistent practice can help.
First, think about your motivation for learning English. Is it because you suddenly need it for work, or is it to pass a test? Work and tests are good motivations because there's a pressure to achieve something in a deadline. If you don't really have any pressure and you're learning just for fun, it's easier to lose interest. So find some kind of motivation to push yourself. Once you have the motivation, you can set goals and rank them by importance or urgency. What's a clear goal? I want to improve my English. Nope, that's too vague. It needs to be specific and measurable. For example, gain 500 TOEFL words in 6 months. Make a 5-minute English presentation in 2 weeks. Earn 80% in this semester's computer science EMI class. Write it down so you have a clear purpose to keep working hard. With a specific and measurable goal, you move on to set a realistic schedule. How much time exactly can you set aside every day while juggling life? Plus, it needs to be consistent. Treat this time like taking a class. Sit at a desk and really work on the material. If you find it difficult to be consistent, tweak the schedule until it can become a routine. Then break down that time into effective practice tasks. For example, 20% for reviewing and 80% for learning something new. So if you have 1 hour of English learning time per day, you can spend the first 20 minutes reviewing something you learned before and 40 minutes on learning something new. Always remember to dedicate some time for review. The next tip is to stay organized. Use folders, calendars, and to-do lists to track progress and deadlines. Avoid putting off the learning routine. For example, although I'm not learning a new language right now, I am learning a new skill of making these YouTube videos. I need to be very organized to set extra time to make 10 videos within a deadline. Although it's a 5-minute video for you to watch, it's actually hours and hours and hours of work for me. So I currently use Google Doc and design a table to keep track of material and progress. So come up with a system to keep track and stay organized. Now we will share steps for a 20-minute practice set that can improve different English skills. Step 1. Input. This can be either listening or reading. For listening, choose a short audio or video of about less than 5 minutes. Make sure you have access to the transcript. For reading, also choose something short that you can finish in about 5 minutes. Listen or read the input and see if you can understand it. Step 2. Learn. Look up unknown words, pronunciations, linking, and grammar. Sometimes you may even need to Google the cultural aspects or background to truly understand something. Put all of that newly learned material in your notes so you can review it later. Always take notes. Step 3. Output. Then move on to an output activity like speaking or writing. Most students are more comfortable with writing as an output, such as a summary or essay about the reading or even a short personal reflection about the topic. Most students skip speaking completely, but if your English journey is always done in dead silence, something is wrong. So what can you do if you're all alone with no one to talk to? How can you practice speaking? You can do so through mimicking. Here is how. The easiest is reading along. Start by breaking it down into smaller chunks. Say each chunk slowly and clearly, emphasizing the intelligibility. Then increase the speed as you get more comfortable. Once you're comfortable with the smaller chunks, the next goal is to use natural speed. Play the audio and try to read while following the same speaking speed of the audio. Do this many times until you can follow. Ultimately, you want to be able to shadow, which is repeating without looking at the script. Play the clip and simultaneously try to repeat what the speaker is saying. This is a little more challenging than reading along because you need to focus on listening and speaking at the same time. You also should repeat steps 1 and 2 until you learn the material, because you will realize that you can't shadow until you really understand what's being said. And like we mentioned in previous videos, it's important to record yourself so you can hear your output and make adjustments to improve. Step 4. Repeat and review. You don't want to feel burnt out by drilling new material that you can't remember. The key is to repeat steps 1, 2, and 3 many times and try to remember the material before moving on to something new. For example, if you have 1 hour of English study time every day, you can spend the first 20 minutes reviewing the different 5-minute outputs you did before, like reading it again or just shadowing to the video. Then, in the next 40 minutes, you can work on something new. Keep that loop every day consistently for a couple months. You should see improvement. Good work! Remember that preparing and practicing does make a difference. Now scan the QR code or click the link in the description below to do the practice quiz. See you next time!